Good morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are. I'm Paul Clark and welcome to my studio. Now today we've got another one in my new series of artists who've inspired and influenced me over the years. So we're going to have a go at this Canoe in the Rapids, painted by the great American artist Winslow Homer. So come and join me and we'll paint this step by step together. So, a little about Winslow. Born in Boston, Massachusetts in 1836, he was both a figurative painter as well as landscapes, and was best known for his marine paintings. Now, probably more well known for his oil paintings, but he also worked extensively in watercolour. Now, I've always loved the drama and storytelling in his work, and what a brilliant social reference his paintings are, giving us a real insight into this period of history. Now, I used one of his Caribbean paintings as the basis for a tutorial on painting trees. Link above if you haven't seen it. And here is Homer's watercolour that today's tutorial is based on. Okay, so for today's materials, my paper is some Winsor & Newton Professional 300-pound rough, won't need stretching, but any decent watercolour paper will do. My colours, a fairly limited palette: Payne's grey, Prussian blue, burnt sienna, yellow ochre and some white gouache, 4 brushes from my range, a mop, 3/4 inch flat, number 12 and number 6 round, and believe it or not, no trusty rigger today. Now I've changed it slightly, not because his original composition needs improvement, but I just want to put my own slant in it, and I've moved the canoe off the centre slightly over to the right. I've also been fairly detailed with the figures and spent some time trying to get them as accurate as possible. And of course the drawing template is free to download from my website, link below. Off we go! Wetting the sky with my mop and some clean water, and then using my flat brush and some yellow ochre, leaving a nice sense of light at the bottom. Next, with some Payne's grey for these clouds. And I'm just dabbing out here with some tissue. Now let this totally dry, and then with my number 12 and a 60-40 ratio mix of Prussian blue and Payne's grey, I'm painting in these distant hills. Now for these foreground trees, I'm basically using the same mix of paint, but just slightly strengthening it to a creamier solution by using less water. Now I'm just giving the area a good spray just to soften the edges and keep the paint moving. Just try and keep those tree shapes simple and uncomplicated. Here I'm just lifting out the colour with a dry brush to give the illusion that these trees are much further away. And here I'm dropping in wet some Payne's grey to really darken this value, especially at the bottom. Now with the sharpened wooden end of my brush, I'm scoring and scraping in a few of the tree details. And just to add a little warmth into the foreground here, I'm dropping in some burnt sienna just to add that little bit of interest. And again, it's all done wet in wet. Here are a few blobs of clean water just to force a few back runs. Okay, so now for this rushing water, and I'm using more Prussian blue in this mix and a lot more water to get this much lighter value, making sure I leave lots of white gaps for the foam. For the rest of the water, I'm just using lighter and darker mixes by adding in more and less Payne's grey. Let all the washes blend and mix together. It's what watercolour is best at doing. Just drying my brush on a tissue and lifting out some of the wash here. So now we need to let this totally dry. So it's a perfect time for a short break and a glass of his favourite Duff beer.
Oh, wrong Homer.
What? No! So let this dry and then come back with a much darker value of the same colour again for these lovely wave details. Lots of nice, quick and loose brush strokes.
To the river we go, leave our worries on the shore and drift away. On the river we know, sometimes the perfect words are never said. I spilled my coffee, I don't feel like talking, my worries just keep growing by the day. I need a moment where the green and blue appear, to spin a rock and watch the ricochet. To the river we go, leave our worries on the shore and drift away. On the river.
Now for the canoe, and this is just some burnt sienna, and I'm using my number 6 brush with a darker value on the left hand shadow side. In now, wet in wet with some burnt umber.
With the water and the waves, as I grow older, well, that boat I'll never sail.
Now for all the clothing, you can paint them whatever colours you want, but I'm going to be sticking fairly close to the original. Lots of muted washes of burnt umber, Payne's grey and even some yellow ochre. No high-vis life jackets in those days.
Good taste. To the river we go, leave our worries on the shore and drift away. On the river we know, sometimes the perfect words are never.
So now is perhaps a good time to let this layer dry before painting in the next level of details. And for this skin tone here, I'm simply using a very watery mix of burnt sienna.
I hope you find this place before you end your days. And if you see me out there, wave hello.
Just a few more touches of movement in the waves with some Payne's grey. And if you look at those large trees, I'm very pleased with the way they look misty at the top. All things I didn't necessarily plan, but just one of those happy accidents you get when working wet in wet and using the spray. Okay, so now with some gooey thick white gouache, but any white opaque paint will do, and I'm painting in the foam on the water and also picking up some lovely texture from the surface of the rough paper. Now with my magic scalpel to scratch out a few really bright white highlights. There we go, all done. And I'm not going to sign it as it's really Winslow's painting, but it was great fun. And it's just my little tribute to a wonderful, inspirational painter. Sound effects, please. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and you'll give it a go. There's no doubt that you can learn a lot from the masters, including copying their work. So please let me know in the comments below if this is the sort of video you like, because I've got lots more great artists who've really inspired me over the years. So please don't forget to do all the usuals, like, leave a comment, I read everyone, subscribe if you haven't already, and of course I look forward to seeing you all again next week for another Watercolour Wednesday. So cheers, take care now.